I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is fully half full. So I coined this phrase to describe the practice of contentment. Contentment is the heart of happiness. Most people are trying to be happy. If you want to be happy, you must cultivate the practice of contentment. You can't have the one without the other. Now, contentment isn't easy, but it's actually very simple. And thank God for that. It's because of this simplicity that contentment is actually available to all of us, regardless of our circumstances. It would be quite a tragedy, quite an oversight in the millions of years of human evolution if our contentment were dependent on external circumstances, given how unfair the distribution of resources across the face of the planet is. So fortunately, that's not the case. Contentment is available to all of us, independent and irrespective of these circumstances. Now, before I explain what the practice of contentment entails, please be sure to like this episode and subscribe to this channel. It takes less than a second, costs you nothing, and it's just as simple as contentment. So, do the thing. All right, so contentment is basically the practice of turning toward the present moment and accepting it as enough, accepting it as sufficient. That's it. That's the practice of contentment. Now, this definition is tough to swallow for a lot of people. And these folks say to me, but Orion, my present moment is not enough. That's the problem. I'm broke. I'm lonely, I'm miserable, and I'm afraid that if I were to take your advice and accept my present moment as enough, I would become complacent and unwilling to do the work to make my present moment better. Okay, fair enough. So how do we handle this objection? Personally, I believe that contentment is not antithetical to having goals. If you're dissatisfied with being broke, you have a goal. You want to make money. If you're dissatisfied with being lonely, you have a goal. You want a relationship. If you're dissatisfied with being miserable, you have a goal. You want to be happy and fulfilled. These are great goals to have. But here's the thing. Having a goal and working towards it is actually independent of accepting where you are in the process of attaining that goal, which can be sufficient to the present moment. Let's make this concrete with a specific example. This glass here has some water in it. The optimist would say that it's half full, and the pessimist would say that it's half empty. So, who's correct? Well, kind of neither one of them is correct, because both of them are comparing this reality that is actually present in front of them, the glass that has got some water in it, to an abstraction that doesn't actually exist, an abstraction that only exists as an idea in their own minds. The optimist is comparing this reality to an empty glass, which isn't actually there. This basis of comparison is inherent in the language half full, and this comparison alters his perception of reality. On the other hand, the pessimist is comparing this reality to a full glass, which also isn't actually there, and the basis of this comparison is also inherent in his language, half empty, and this comparison alters his perception of reality. Neither is actually seeing reality clearly, but the distortion is so close to perception that most people don't notice it. The practice of contentment is to kind of see the glass as fully half full. It is full and complete in its halfness and incompleteness. This isn't a perfect description, as even the concept of halfness refers to wholeness, but hopefully you get the idea. And even if you add more water or take some water away, the glass is still fully and completely itself at every step of the process. It's always whole, even as it increases its volume. It's only not whole in comparison to an abstraction that exists in your own mind. The more that we can see things as they are, not as they could be, or should be, or might be, the more that we see that the present moment is actually enough. It's full. That's the incredible thing about reality. You can't add to it, and you can't take anything from it. It is inviolably whole at every moment throughout eternity. And the more we perceive reality, the more we can also participate in that wholeness, which facilitates the practice of contentment, which itself is one of the primary components of human happiness. Hopefully that makes sense. What do you think? How do you practice contentment? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for listening.